Does IndyCar need more races? That is the question we asked today. Well, right at the end of the podcast, we're going to talk about quite a bit in between then and now. So I guess that was maybe clickbait. We got you. But hang around because we will actually talk about that. But sadly, we have to start off today's episode because this week, Danny Ongais passed away. Danny, or the Flying Hawaiian as he was nicknamed, sadly passed away this week, and he was a driver who competed within American open wheel racing mainly in the 70s and 80s. He did also race within Formula One, finishing one of those races coming home 7th. It was in USACs that he would achieve his most success with 6 wins to his name. He showed plenty of pace within car, but it is his Indy 500 performances that he will be remembered for. One of the most famous pictures of Danny is the 1981 Indy 500 crash where his car was virtually destroyed, and unbelievably, he actually survived that crash. Danny continued to race afterwards with the best result of 3rd at Michigan in the 84 season. In 1996, after a 9-year hiatus from racing, Danny was asked to drive the Menard car in that year's 500 as sadly Scott Brayton had died in a crash in Friday practice. Starting last, Danny came home 7th in his final Indy 500. A pretty impressive way to bow out. Racing in that dangerous era, it is a miracle he survived some of his crashes, but when he raced, his talent was clear to see and maybe didn't achieve on track what his talent merited. He is fondly remembered by his peers. Even now he is gone, but definitely not forgotten. Rest in peace, Danny. So yes, some sad news at the start of the podcast, but we thought we'd mention it as, you know, it was news going in there. But also on happier news, happy birthdays. Mario Andretti had his birthday this week, sharing it with Sebastian Bourdais, who had a little party, I think, of kind of commemorating his career after the GP of St Pete. Will Power also had his birthday, celebrating going to Disneyland, and if you followed him on Instagram, he looked particularly enthused by that. I think I even saw him in one clip with Ratatouille ears on his head. Will Power is the gift that just keeps giving. And today, which will be yesterday when you guys watch this podcast, Ed Carpenter's birthday. Wow, I mean, geez. Is it one of our birthdays?
No. We're going to wait for those.
Wow. Okay, that was blunt. We could even faked a birthday, but no. I guess that we faked birthday.
This is all about integrity and honesty.
Yeah, that is true. We do that. Well, Stephen wasn't here for the review because work schedules, we were too late on the Sunday and Stephen was working on the Monday. So I'm going to ask him, what do you think of the GP of St. Pete? We didn't get your thoughts. Everyone's dying to know your thoughts, clearly.
Where did Pato go?
Are you okay?
Where did he go?
Backwards.
He was 3rd?
Yeah.
He was even 2nd?
Yeah.
Where did he go?
He went backwards.
Where did he go?
He went backwards. Is that all you're taking from the GP of St. Pete? Where did Pato go?
Also, where did Pato go?
Right, okay. Does that...
Also, where did Rossi go?
Because that was your star performer. Right, okay, right. So star performer...
I was filing lots of missing person reports during the Grand Prix of St. Pete.
I was wondering what you were writing during the race.
Yeah, it was a wild one. Fantastic way to start the season off. Obviously, with another first-time winner in Scott McLaughlin. We kind of, at the beginning, we were like, you know, a couple more podiums for Scott. You know, race win is probably still out of the equation. Bam! Lightning quick and quali, and then finished the job in the race. Got the job done in the race. First pole, first race win. Job done. Yeah,
he didn't really at any point look like not winning that race. Even when Alex Palou was all over his gearbox, there wasn't really a major point that you went, Palou's going to get past. There were a few kind of half chances, half gaps. But I think, like I said in the review, he's a seasoned championship contender, having won a championship now. So that naturally qualifies you as a seasoned one. But, you know, if you're going for the championship, you can't take big risks. First race, coming second is not a bad result. And Scott McLaughlin, all he can do is hope that Scotty made a mistake. Scotty didn't make a mistake.
And he was absolutely faultless.
He was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The age of the new Kiwi has begun.
So, star performers.
Yeah.
I think it's probably safe to say in Race to Pie Face, it was probably a draw.
Yeah, you're probably being generous there as well.
Jack Harvey got a 13th after a poor qualifying, not making it through to the fast 12. He was one of the biggest movers within the race. I think he made up, I think he started maybe 20th and made his way up to 13th. I've got the stats there as we come on. But yeah,
we kind of only look at top 10.
Yeah. I said he would get a top 10. So that's why I'm going to, concede the star performer result, as Alexander Rossi was definitely not in contention.
They had an absolute nightmare on strategy.
I just don't know what... I think I saw
they
a
left
description.
him out under on the caution.
Yeah.
So he then had to do 2 more stops under green, whereas everyone else was 1 stop under green.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw a description of Rossi's strategy as Rossi went off strategy.
Yes.
Everyone else was...
the third strategy.
Yeah. And funnily enough, that didn't work.
Yes. Yeah.
Poor Alexander. I saw it took him a couple of days, or it was maybe the day after he posted. He was like, sorry, as soon as I got off the racetrack, I forgot about that race. I was like...
It's what you need. That's kind of mindset you need for days like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the review was kind of more instant reactions and stuff like that, but I got a few stats. Interestingly, probably for viewing sides, we know our American, you Americans love viewing figures. It's not really a thing in kind of British sports culture. We don't go, wow, that game today was viewed by 1.1 million people in football or something like that. But it is a big thing within the United States. So, highlights from St. Pete. This is taken from Nathan Brown, obviously reporter for the Indianapolis Star, I believe. Average of 1.429 million viewers on NBC and Peacock combined. That's up 53% versus the 21 opener. I believe it was 990,000 viewers for Barber last year, and up 15% on the 21 St. Pete race, which still very impressive in itself. It is the highest viewed race in 11 years. The highest season opener in 11 years.
Was this the first race on network?
I think so.
Okay.
I believe it was, which proves that getting that negotiation with NBC to get more races on network is a big deal, because it makes it more accessible to people. But also Peacock's average minute audience was 23,800 minutes, which was the largest non-500 streaming audience.
Wow.
I know. Those stats just blow you off your feet, but we thought we'd share them. A fun one, actually, we'll go general drivers. We'll go general drivers. So, Andy Merrick on Twitter put together a nice little kind of graphic. Give him a shout out. You can give him a follow on Twitter as well. Usually comes up useful coverage over an IndyCar weekend. But he put together a graphic of how many places were made up and who kind of ranked there. So coming in at number 1, and I did mention this in the review, Takuma Sato, P10, made up 12 places, was the biggest mover in the race, started P22 and came home in the top 10.
That's what I loved about St. Pete. There were so many mini stories throughout, like Takuma Sato, like your Rossi, like your Palou, and your Scott. There were so many different stories.
So many different stories. Jack Harvey, star performer, plus 10 places, started 23rd. So, a big mover regardless. He was always on the back foot, though, from that practice crash, wasn't he? Yeah. Go from there. And Alex Palou, obviously, coming home in second place finish, started P10, did Palou things, just suddenly ends up on the podium in P2. 8 places he made up in that race. Then the rest are kind of pretty standard. Jimmy made up 3 places from last.
Well, we don't need to go through 3 places, whatnot.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I was giving Jimmy Johnson a shout out. He finished almost on the lead lap. But he didn't spin this time in the race, so that's good.
True. He finished.
He did.
Nearly on the lead lap.
Wow, that was brutal. True, he finished. Wow. Fun one for Marcus Ericsson. So I got it wrong to correct, I did in the comments though. I wasn't sure what happened to Marcus Ericsson because I mentioned he was riding ahead of both Polo and Dixon at one point, but he did get penalised for the pit lane incident where he oversteered into Rahal, who then squeezed Grosjean into the wall.
Did he ever stop and go? Or
yeah, apparently he started at the back once the caution happened, but made his way up to 9th. And since dating back to the back end of 2020, in the last 17 road and street course races, Marcus Ericsson has finished in the top 10 15 times, which is very good.
These stats.
I know. Look at me.
Any more?
No, that's me done. That's me done. I've got excited. I'm done. But we move on to look ahead to Texas. That's the first bit of news. We had testing for the rookies yesterday, which will be Wednesday for you guys, 2 days ago from there. So Grosjean got to go out at the Texas Motor Speedway, I believe, for the first time. I believe he's only tested at Indy beforehand with Andretti, Lundgaard, Malukas, Eilert, Kirkwood.
Well, the main thing to take away from it is Carl Kirkwood being the fastest man out there.
Yes.
Could his big opportunity for a big result this year be on an oval?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say no. Having spoken to him, me and Carl are now best mates. Once we interview a driver once, we're now best friends for life. That's just fact. They're like friends of the channel. Friend of the channel, Carl Kirkwood, said, look, he's not used to ovals. Look, Carl's talent is clear there to see. These were also draft times. I believe out of draft, Grosjean was quickest. I missed that time on Motorsport. I didn't have them up, so I'm not going to speculate too much. But Grosjean was right up there as it goes. And you have to bear in mind, he's against guys other than Grosjean who had a test on Indianapolis Motor Speedway. None of these guys have driven an oval before other than Malukas and Di Francesco, who have the same oval experience.
Just let me go down the rabbit hole of Cole Kirkwood as a god. Kirkwood.
Yeah, he is pretty damn good. But all above 216.9 mile an hour. I don't know if that's particularly relevant from there. Best lap, Carl's was 219.784
He said he was done.
No, I lied to you. Malukas completed the most laps with 210, and the total laps run were 957. Thank you very much to, I believe that was Joey Barron.
You'll leave something down below.
I'll leave something down below. He was giving good coverage over testing and sharing some pictures. Well, I think he shared little driver interviews. Lundgaard was like, "Wow, that was quick." In his typical, very enthusiastic. He has a typical Scandinavian enthusiasm about him.
Yeah,
go from there. But that leads us on probably quite nice. Well, okay, I'll leave. How do you want to progress? Do you want to jump into now? Wow, it was great to see testing at Texas, but we have almost a month to a race. Does IndyCar need more races? Or do you want to talk about the hybrid engine chassis thing?
So we should have planned this before.
Yeah, but everyone who watches this podcast, and if they're new, they've realised, actually, we've given a rather professional appearance to people who maybe are new to the channel. So now we've got to give them the taster of the unprofessionalism that our regular viewers are used to. And actually, adhere, love, respect, expect, maybe, is probably the better word to suggest there. But which one would you rather go for? It's like flip a coin. Tracks, chassis, engine.
Can I only have one?
Well, we're going to talk about both.
Oh, okay.
But depends which order. Boop, 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 boop. Your time is
Engines.
Up. Engines. Okay, we're going to save. I told you it was clickbait at the start. They're like, oh my God, we're already 20
hybrid
minutes
engines
into this podcast.
Pushed back from 2024.
Yeah.
shocker or sensible?
No, it seems sensible because there's been a global shortage of things, of the ERS, electronic recovery, energy recovery system.
Basically, the pandemic has delayed everything in the whole world, and it's probably the right move for IndyCar to delay hybrid engines, even though we're probably all looking forward to that big next change with the cars. We're just going to have to wait a bit longer. Maybe they'll bring a whole bigger package with lighter aero screens, maybe. Chassis changes.
Well, I think that is where the discussion needs to be had. Because we did a video, didn't we? We go, does IndyCar need a new chassis? And we went, it doesn't need a new chassis, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
I think that's where we go. I've changed my mind on that. I've now progressed. Now hearing this, and I was reading, I'll leave a couple of the articles in the description below that Marshall covered. And, he spoke to, I think, a couple of team principals and obviously the drivers he spoke to when they were testing last year with the extra power. Basically, the drivers don't want this new engine on this new old chassis, which is the DW12, because the drivability becomes quite poor and the extra horsepower doesn't really get to be used because the car's so slow in the corners, because it's tough to handle, because the car is suddenly so much heavier. I think Mike Shank described it as it's like having the body in the back of the car. And someone went, why does Mike Shank know what it's like to feel like there's a body in the back of your car? Exclusive interview coming up. Whoa, dark. Whoa, who knows? We'll leave that one out for a kind of to be discussed in the comments. But okay, so it's heavy there. Then on the financial
new
side
series, IndyCar Conspiracies.
Whoa. Yeah, I think it's something we can lead with. If you want IndyCar Conspiracies, vote below in the non-poll, just with your comments, whatever. But right, okay, so the driving side of things, all the drivers pretty much unanimously said we need a new chassis to make this work because everything's heavier.
Yeah.
This car's too heavy. The team principals, thinking more the financial cost of things, interesting one, I think, was the most interesting one was Mike Hull, where he basically said that it's going to cost 250 grand to upgrade the DW12 chassis to be able to fit the new hybrid engines. But it only was, I think, not only, but so Chip Ganassi have like 4 cars. So that would then equal out 2.5 million. I think overall the costs, I know that doesn't add up. But 2.5 million, he said it would cost to completely upgrade. They have 10 cars. That's what it is. Not just the 4 cars. They have 10 cars on a roster. That would cost them 2.5 million. All right. To do the entire thing for a new chassis and thing, rumored cost would be about 4 million. So they're like, if you're spending out 2.5 million, what's the difference going to 4 million, which is a chassis that's going to be the future rather than one we're just kind of going to hang around for another couple of years, almost wasting money on upgrading it that's going to be on the out anyway. So I'm saying IndyCar now needs a new chassis when these hybrid engines come because it makes sense for the whole package. IndyCar's on the way up. They don't want suddenly a terrible car to drive to lose some of that momentum.
Yes.
There you go. Steven Stunt. Bang!
I have nothing to come back from that,
Well, there you go.
You laid out, you hit us with stats, and you just hit us with logic.
This is a new mic you're seeing on the channel. Well-researched, well-rounded arguments. Steven Stunt.
I just opened and you did the discussion and the finish all by yourself.
Yeah. In fact, Steven's sacked from Indy Fanatics on camera. He's gone. We've got rid of him. He can't argue. We can discuss.
We need to keep the same chassis forever.
Why?
The engines shouldn't be coming into the sport at all.
Oh, now you're fighting.
Nothing. Get rid of the cars. Get rid of the drivers.
Okay. So Stephen's gone with the crazy approach. I think it's
That's
a
my
useful
counter
approach.
argument.
And it was smart, Stephen, because what you've said, you have to be crazy to argue with the fact that IndyCar need a new chassis.
Yeah.
Wow, what a well-rounded way that we did get there.
I'm looking forward to the next big change. And even though we have to wait another year, it should mean that next big change is complete. It's not all disjointed with a year we're doing this, a year we're doing that. It should all be together. Unity.
Exactly. They've put so many safety features that they've bolted on the old chassis that they need a chassis specifically designed to make that car work at optimal levels.
Yes.
And I think I tweeted saying it's better to take time and get it right rather than to rush it and have kind of, a hack job of a car put together. Well, I guess that covers that.
And the last one?
Track. Do we need more races?
News. No, not track news. Because there is no track news.
No. There's just a very long gap between now and Texas. And does the series now lose momentum as Formula One comes back into this time? NASCAR is racing regularly within this time. I think probably Formula E have maybe got a race or two within this time. I don't know the Formula E calendar off the top of my head, but I would assume they at least have one race in this time, which means eyes go on to other series. They've just had a great season opener, but now we've got to wait a month for it.
Yeah, so wait, at the moment we've got 16?
I believe 17.
17. And obviously a argument in take it from Formula One is 23 races is maybe too much. But you got to think, IndyCar is solely based in the US at the moment, possibly moving to Mexico next year, but it'll always be mainly based in North America. So travel is not really a big issue. So you don't have to really worry about pushing that 20 race calendar to like mid-20s, even to 30s, because you haven't got massive travel between races. It's either that, you either got to go more races to pack your season or go for a shorter season.
Short, compact, so it's races every couple of weeks.
A bit like they did last year where they cancelled St Pete to kind of stop those month-long delays at the start and kind of compact it all. But this year they've just decided, well, no, let's try having it all spaced out. It doesn't really make sense.
In fairness to them, in this gap, I don't know about the next gap because it's pretty much the same between Texas and what's the third race? Long Beach, isn't it? There's another quite big gap between Texas and Long Beach. I'm not sure on there. I think they left slots open where they were negotiating races onto the calendar. Homestead Miami was rumoured, I think in August time last year, wasn't it? Near the end of the season, that might be coming back onto the calendar. That will obviously make sense that if you were going to have Homestead Miami, that you would have it after St. Pete. Because
what was the plan B though?
Well, there wasn't one, clearly, because we've got a massive gap.
I'm sick of it. These kind of stuff. Oh, we were in negotiations and hoping. Where's your plan B? You don't just walk into a season with, this is plan A and this is all we got. If that fails, then we're going to have these big gaps in the season. Where's your plan B?
Maybe Roger Penske's never needed a plan B.
Why don't you start compact and go, okay, if we have new races, let's open the season with them, open with their excitement. And if we don't get them, then we just have this late start and compact season.
Yeah.
Why go, oh, we'll fill the season? It may be with these negotiations.
But maybe they had to. I haven't never done the logistics of doing a calendar. So maybe St. Pete are like, we want this date. They've booked in this date. Bang, they've got all the preparations started. All the things that have to go into preparing a street race. Long Beach as well. You know, because it almost is a year-round preparation for that race. So you can't be necessarily moving it too much. And they've gone, look, Homestead looks okay at the moment. I don't know. I'm now just kind of speculating. Homestead looks okay. You guys have this earlier start. We're pretty sure we're going to have a race in 2 weeks' time afterwards and have double ovals in Homestead and Texas. And then I believe Homestead's owned by NASCAR, as is most of the oval tracks. And I believe they turned around and went, no.
No, I don't care about Homestead Miami. I don't care about these negotiations. All I care about is plan B. And there was none.
You heard it here first.
So
the plan B needs to happen. Like,
now we're here. It kind of goes what went wrong with the calendar scheduling.
I guess we need to send this clip directly to Roger Penske.
Yeah.
Tell him to start, sorting it out.
Plan B? What
is wrong with you? Because IndyCar suffers with a long winter break, and there's not much testing. It's quite a quiet period, isn't it? It's good for the drivers because they can race in other series and whatever, but it's already quite long. But if you're going to have a short, about 6 months, because the season start of September. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So it's an 8-month season. All right. So 8 out of the 12 months you're in there. Either compact it down to like a 7th month season where everything's every couple of weeks. Because post the Indy 500, it is pretty regular. And the momentum's going to go. So I don't know if they're just saying, well, up until the Indy 500, we can get away with it because even if people lose a little bit of interest, they're going to come back at the Indy 500. And if the Indy 500 is great, because the Indy 500 is great, then everyone will stay for after that. Is that the theory? Is that plan B? We'll just rely on the Indy 500.
We'll just rely on the 500. That's just, to be fair, that's a pretty strong plan B.
Yeah.
But you scrap the first 3 races, kind of. Well, Long Beach onwards, yeah. Yeah.
It got to you. I can see it got to you. And I think it gets to a lot of people.
Just, maybe I was being a bit extreme going, you could have a 30 race calendar. Just a 20 race calendar. Just 20, 21, 22. You don't, I know you're saying 22 weeks of racing, but you're completely in North America. You're not having massive travel things. You don't want to do double headers. Just one race weekend.
And I don't know the costs of it, but I can't imagine, like, if teams are running part-time, okay, they only run less part-time. Part-time guys aren't competing for the championship, so people aren't necessarily too worried on that. And if you're asking the full-time drivers and racers to race an extra 3 races in this case, it's not extensively, I imagine, going to send the budget up hugely.
Well, the thing is, there's lots more money coming into the sport. Also, getting all these network races is kind of a clear and obvious indication that there is a lot more money coming into the sport. So teams should be able to afford, I know we've got these big changes coming up, to race in more races.
More races. I agree, to be fair.
Yeah.
You either need more races or you need to schedule it better. I think this isn't a good look for IndyCar. That sounds harsh. When it comes to Texas, we're all going to be tuning in. But maybe for those casual new fans, it gives them time to forget about it after being really excited, going, wow, Scott McLaughlin, I want to see how he gets on in his next race. They're like, oh yeah, when's that next race? Oh, it's now. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I might tune into it. Might not. F1's back. Or NASCAR's on every week. Might not tune in.
It's already been 1 week and we're already moaning about IndyCar.
No. Look, IndyCar is fantastic. It was a brilliant race. It was fantastic to be back. But because we love it so much and it's like an addiction to us, we need our next hit. That's what we're basically saying.
And we're all looking forward to it. We may be complaining that there isn't enough races. We're all looking forward to it, though. And we're not going to talk too much, though, in this episode, because we do have a few weeks to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to
It's going to be the first 3-part preview to a racing.
Unbelievable. We're going to rate. Next week is just purely on who will be in the race. We'll just list the 26 or 20. I don't even know who's going to be in the race because you'll find out in the preview. 26, 27 drivers, whoever it is, and then that's it.
Yep.
5 minutes. We'll just list their names and then we'll go, goodbye. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Although next week, jokes aside, we may have a special guest.
We do.
For the podcast.
We do. We have Tom Gamel coming onto it. So for those of you who are British IndyCar fans, you will know he is part of the commentary team and coverage for Sky Sports F1, who fills in the advert breaks when you guys go onto advert in the US. I believe he was based with Carlin for a bit on the IndyCar program. So people in the US might know of Tom as well. But yeah, we're going to get him on talking about IndyCar and just general chit chat, probably a little bit about that season opener and thoughts going forward as part of our 3-part preview of the Texas Motor Speedway round, or the XPEL 375, I think it is.
You did not need to say the full name.
I did, because, you know, if they want to sponsor it, this is the XPEL 375 Indy Fanatics podcast. You can get, what do they even sell? That would be amazing. We've gone too far. But I tell you what, I did mention it in the review, but we'll go building up. I think as this stands, we are on 4,632 subscribers at the point of filming. It might be more, hopefully not less, by the time this video goes out. We've got enough time in this gap. This is why IndyCar gave it, is because you've got to share it. You've got to get the word out there that Indy Fanatics is here for all your IndyCar content.
5K or we shut down.
We might not do that, but we'll hope to get 5K.
No, you got to stay strong. 5K or we shut down. We will go and protest.
Yes. And that's for those existing people sharing, or if you're new and you've still stuck with us at this point in this carnage of a podcast.
You create new accounts.
You subscribe. We get it by the masses. But yes, but if they're new around here, you are watching. What can they do, Stephen, to help us get to that 5,000?
They can like, subscribe, and ding that bell.
Ding it!
Or we shut down.
What has this episode been? Go from there. Car, we love IndyCar. Why is it away for so long? But we love IndyCar. And for you Indy fans, that's it. So for now, you Indy fans, I've terribly gone into that transition. There's a lot of Indy fans here. The English literature part of this podcast has been failed. But you know what to do. You've got to keep racing.